So Renee, you're older than me. Yeah. But like, you know, again, we have never run our kids. She's got competitive, so we see what people. Yeah. They're 12, I have 3 kids, 12,
Can everyone hear me okay? You guys at the back table, are we good? Okay, here we go. I want to welcome all of you to our Roosevelt High School Athletic Hall of Fame Banquet 2022. My name is Steve Moore. I am blessed to be the Activities Director at Roosevelt High School. And this is long overdue. I think I said this to all 5 of the candidates tonight that we're going to induct, that I think you found out in August of 19 that you were going to be a member of our Hall of Fame. And then a big thing got in the way. And we all know what that is. So I'm thankful that everyone's here safely, and that I hope you enjoy the evening that we have planned. I just want to say a few words. Besides congratulating the candidates, the inductees, I don't know a lot of you. I'm in my 4th year at Roosevelt High School. And as I said earlier, I'm blessed to be the AD, and I truly believe that. I've met so many great people through Roosevelt High School in my 4 short years. I'm going to give you a little state of the high school, because I think I'm the only probably representative that's going to talk tonight that is at Roosevelt High School. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Roosevelt, because some of you work there on a daily basis, some of you come to our events, some of you are from a long ways away, and you may want to know what it's like there right now. So I'm going to give a state of the state, so to speak. So here we go. To me, there are 4 parts to a school. The first is the building. The building was constructed, school started in 1991. If you were to walk through the building, and anytime you want a tour, just give me a call. It's very much the same, but we're very blessed this year now to be doing a remodel. In the gym, we're going to redo the floor. We're going to put in new bleachers, which is a great thing. We need new bleachers. Put in new bleachers, and then our weight room, if you remember the weight room, is going to be 50% bigger. And along with that, we are going to have turf and lights, field turf and lights out on our football field and track complex. So, and that's thanks to Jefferson High School opening, really. And so those will be some upgrades as the years come. You know, as the next year happens, it's going to get really busy here in a hurry. And so you're going to see a lot of construction there, hopefully starting in the next few weeks. And hopefully, you know, with God willing, that we'll get it done in plenty of time to start school, and everything will run smoothly. So we're looking forward to that. So that's the building. The next part of a high school, I believe, that's important is the staff. The staff at Roosevelt High School is amazing. Some of them are here tonight, and I can't thank them enough for all that they do for our kids on a daily basis at Roosevelt High School. Being an educator today is a tough job. Whether you're teaching, coaching, serving lunch, whatever it might be, working a ball game. A few of you work ball games for me. Those are all tough jobs. Officiating. And we're blessed to have those people. I am here because of a teacher. I think most of you, if I were to have an individual conversation with you, you would probably say the same thing, that a teacher or coach, when I say teacher, I'm talking coach too, had an influence on your life, and you're doing today what you're doing because of a teacher. And so I always encourage our young people at Roosevelt and at Watertown before and at Rapid City Central before that to get into education. It doesn't pay well, you're right, but it's a very rewarding career. It's a career of service, and you get to see the end results eventually of your work. So if you're ever interested in becoming a teacher or working ball games at Roosevelt or getting into officiating or getting into coaching, give me a call, because it's getting harder every day to fill those positions. And we need really, really good people, because if you think about it, your grandkids, your great-grandkids need good people in their life. Staff, that's the staff. The students. The students at Roosevelt High School are extremely talented. They're extremely caring for each other. It's a very diverse group of kids. They take a lot of pride in their school. I'm going to give a little bit of credit to our football team this year. My first 3 years, it took me a while to memorize the school song. I think that's important for the AD to know the school song. It took me a while to memorize it because I just didn't feel like we were playing it enough and we weren't singing it enough. This year, our football team kind of took that on. And you would find that at a lot of ball games, at the end of ball games, whether a football game, a volleyball game, a basketball game, where we would have a crowd, those kids would be leading our fans in the school song. It was very emotional to watch at times and fun. Mr. Tim Hazelett is our principal at Roosevelt High School, and the programming that we have in place at our school makes it a place for students to feel welcomed, to feel appreciated and accepted, to feel valued, and that's everyone and that's every day. And he takes that to heart. That's our students at Roosevelt High School. The last thing I will say about Roosevelt High School is it's a community. When I talk about Roosevelt, I don't talk about Sioux Falls. I talk about the Roosevelt community, because it is a community. We have a phrase that Mr. Hazelett put in place before I was there. It says, "We are Roosevelt, we are one." And we believe that truly, and we live it every day. And it is a great place. I am finishing my 31st year in education, and I can't imagine being at a better place than this is. And I know that's a sentiment that a lot of you feel. There are some differences now in Roosevelt than when your kids went through and when the inductees went through. But I'm sure you would find if you were to walk the halls and become a part of it again, you'd say, yeah, this reminds me of when I was here. It's just a great place. With that, I'm done talking for the night. We're going to turn it over to Mr. Lukens and let him take over. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. You might be done talking, but I am not. And for those of you who had me as a student, you're probably loosening your belts right now, getting ready, because you're like, well, once he gets going, he never shuts up. He just keeps going on and on and on. I want you to know Laura and Kathleen and Krista and Aaron and Christy. You were, you are, and you always will be worth waiting for. And I mean that from the standpoint of this Hall of Fame, but I also mean it from a personal standpoint. And if you understand that there are people in your life who truly believe that you are worth waiting for, you live your life with a little bit different priority, I think. All 5 of you I have known in one or more respects, and very different respects. I can't remember if I've had 3 or 4 of you as students, but I had all of you in some respect in athletics, whether it was watching your games or announcing your games or whatever. The fifth one of you has been a colleague of mine for a long time, and I'm sure she will address that. But all I can say about tonight, in terms of, to summarize it, I'm going to summarize at the beginning, and that is, finally, here we are, and it's been long overdue. What Steve Moore had to say was beautiful. Mainly, one thing I respect so much about Steve, he's never been involved in one of these things before. He's been at Roosevelt, like he said, for 4 years, but this event has been going on for a long time. We've tried to do it every other year, and it was the brainchild of a young man in the back, Jerry Miller, who was one of our first athletic directors at Roosevelt. He's the one that started our Hall of Fame. I think it was in 1993 or 1994. And if you look in your program, which I'm sure you all have, but if you haven't, take it home and look at it. And in that program, not only will you see biographies of all of our inductees tonight, you will also see the history of Roosevelt High School athletics, the best of our history. And frankly, there was a lot of our history that wasn't that great. When we first opened our doors in 1991, we had a long way to go until we got to the point where our girls' basketball team was winning 111 games in a row. We went a long ways before we started filling up those trophy cases with state championship trophies. It took a long time. And history is important to remember, and history is important to learn from. Tonight, we're celebrating 5 inductees who exemplify the history of our athletic program at Roosevelt High School. I couldn't be prouder. I know they are. I've gotten to hug them all. Even Aaron Hadorf gave me a hug, which is like a bonus for me. But in your program, you will see a list of people who are currently in our Hall of Fame. We have some of those people here with us tonight. And I'm not going to just say, hey, stand up if you're one of them. Okay, now sit down because we're done with you. You're worth more than that. Remember, you're worth waiting for. And we're going to wait for all of you to be recognized. So I think they're all here. I know Lisa Agar, you might remember her as Lisa Griebel. Lisa, where are you? Stand up. You got to stand up, Lisa. You can read all about their accomplishments in the program, so I'm not going to get into that. One of our coaching inductees, Mr. Tim Holman. Tim is here, I think. There he is, Tim. We have 3 people who were inducted. We inducted a group of people several years ago as one. And they were a group of totally whacked out, fanatical basketball fans. If you were around in the late 90s, early 2000s, you remember this group, because you couldn't miss them, at all of our basketball games. They were called the Whoosh Group. And we have 3 of the members of that Whoosh Group here today. One of them, Dixie Jorgensen, you might have been one of the founding Mother Superiors, I think, of the Whoosh Group. And then Sarah and Terry Orsak, you guys were also part of that as well. So thank you for being here. Other athlete inductees we have with us tonight, Kaylee Keating-Cook. Kaylee, I know you're over here. Stand up, Kaylee, so we can see you. We have some Hall of Fame contributors. We induct people not just because of their expertise as a high school student, but also for their contributions to our programs. Mark Miley. I think some of you might know Mark. Yeah, there he is. The best chocolate chip cookie maker on the planet, his wife, Toni Miley. There she is. The aforementioned Jerry P. Miller in the back. He is in our Hall of Fame. Welcome, Jerry. A coaching inductee, Janae Rusing Cross. I did not see Janae. Are you here, Janae? Hey, there she is. Hi, Janae. Brittany Thune Lundberg. Brittany, you're up here. Hi, Brittany. Tony Turgeon. Have a stand up, Tony, thank you. Tyler Wettering. And finally, another kind of a special, all of them were special, but we inducted the 1996 volleyball team, which was our very first state championship. And we have one of the members, at least one of the members of that state championship team here, Jill Selly. Do we have another one too? Oh, Lisa, well, they still call you Griebel. Lisa Agar, she was also on that team. I will never forget that moment. I was a scorekeeper at that first state championship with Mr. Madison, and we ran out of perspiration during that night, and clearly Miss Griebel didn't, because she was still sweating like she got sprayed with a fire hose after the game for many, many hours afterwards. Also want to, and this is where I'm just going to ask you to stand, if you are a member of our Hall of Fame committee, these are the people that put together this event, they're the people that elect and decide who's going to be inducted. If you're on our Hall of Fame committee, would you please stand up so we can recognize you and your work? In the, not the very front cover of the program, but one page in, under the Hall of Fame committee names, there is a list of acknowledgments. And I'm just going to call out a couple of those, but please take a look at that. And if you know anybody who is associated with any of those acknowledgments, please thank them for their support of our Hall of Fame. I do, however, want to call out a couple of people. And that is, I've had several people say, what is that guy on that little stage in the back with that camera? What's he doing here? So before I introduce him, would you please look back to the back and just wave at that guy? Because you are on camera. That's Ben Schumacher. He is our district film guy. That's probably not your official title, Ben, but I'm going to call you the district film guy. And Ben is an invaluable resource to our school district. He is, filming this. I think it's going to be on a YouTube channel. It'll probably be on our district website. I'm not sure where it's going to be, but he's going to be the guy that is filming this. He also, in just a moment, we're going to start seeing videos of the 5 inductees. And Ben was involved in that, but we had a Roosevelt graduate who was actually the son of our athletic trainer. His name is Caleb Roggenbuck. And Caleb did, yeah, go ahead, yeah, clap. Olivia, thank you. Yeah. And Caleb was a student who helped put together these videos that you're going to see, and I've watched them, and they're good, they're really good. So I think you're really going to enjoy those. Let's see, am I forgetting, Steve, am I forgetting anything? No, okay. All right, so let's get on with this. Let me just tell you how this is going to work. I'm going to keep my comments for each individual inductee to a minimum. If you've attended these in the past, some of you are going, well, that's a relief, because you usually don't do that. That's what I'm going to do, because I'm going to let the video speak for them. Each inductee is going to have a video presented. You can't help but see them. I mean, this kind of looks like a sports bar in here, from what I've heard. I've never been in a sports bar, but there's TVs all over the place, so just take a look at the televisions. And then what I will do is, after the video of each individual, I'd ask you to come up here. We'll award you with a plaque or an award for a keepsake, and then we'd ask you to say a few words. Okay, got the picture here? All right, so our first inductee from the class of 1995 is Laura Selly Vertuccio. So let's take a look at Laura's video.
Laura was a very well-rounded athlete. She not only did gymnastics, but she was on choir, and she was in track, and did a multiple of things at Roosevelt High School. One of her greatest accomplishments was probably always being an exceptional all-arounder and placing high in just about every meet that she went on, at least 2 or 3 events. Laura's attitude and personality was infectious. She was always positive. She worked very hard. She was actually voted the hardest worker at practice all 4 years here at Roosevelt High School. And that just carried over to the team. Her legacy would probably be the fact that she was in so many activities, student council, music, theater. She was also nominated to the Hall of Fame for Fine Arts. She just was one of those kids that gave her all to Roosevelt High School, and I appreciate those kids that don't select just one activity. She is just one quality individual.
Ladies and gentlemen, Roosevelt High School Athletic Department is proud to induct Ms. Laura Selly Vertuccio into the Hall of Fame.
Hi, everyone. Wow. This brings back so many memories being here, and I think probably for all the other inductees, it's kind of emotional. I didn't expect that. So thank you all for inviting me here tonight, and I'm going to just kind of read my few words so that I can not forget anything. So it is a tremendous honor and a privilege to be inducted into the Roosevelt High School Athletic Hall of Fame. Once a Rough Rider, always a Rough Rider, right? And I can't help but feel pride in sharing this honor with my wonderful family, my teachers, many of whom are here tonight, my coaches, of course, my teammates, and all of the Roosevelt athletic staff that helped make all of our events possible. I share this with all of you. You helped to give me these opportunities in my life, but also in basketball, in track and field, and in gymnastics. I have moments where I'm not really sure why I'm here, because I feel like what I really did was sort of absorb what I got from my teachers and my coaches, and I followed their lead. And so I can't not talk about Lori Warren, who was really my longtime mentor and friend and the best coach of my life. She was my longtime gymnastics coach. A role model and a mentor. We had a shared love of gymnastics and dance. I've gone on into a professional career in dance, and Lori was one of the first people who got me interested in choreography and performing. I was on the Teddies as well. But Lori was a woman who thrived in a physical field with longevity, and people respected her. And I admired that. If you know Lori, you know she is passionate about building community around athletics, and as a person, she radiates joy and compassion. As a coach, she can be very exacting and very direct. She definitely drove us hard, and I'm sure those of you who've worked with Lori, you know this about her too. She was just awesome. She knew us, her athletes, she knew us as people, and so she tailored her coaching to us, and that made it really special. You just felt her care for you, and it made you want to do more. And more than the accolades that we achieved as a team or as individuals in the competitions, I mostly remember the atmosphere of our practices, where we would have a lot of laughter, a lot of fun, of course the hard work from Lori, but also she really led us to become a true team, where we really supported each other, and it became about our togetherness more so than any accomplishment. And we always looked forward to practice. What I remember best about Lori is her coaching through her pregnancies. She showed me how a woman could be confident in her abilities and have agency to make choices about her own body, in spite of what others might have expected. In her, I saw then, and I still see now, a role model of female empowerment. And this is an image I hold with me. I hold it with me when I teach my own high school students now, and I also teach college students, so I really couldn't do what I do without the example that she gave. I also try to bring that to my son, Silas, as he grows. He's 8 years old and is here with me today. But ultimately, by Lori showing her confidence in me, it made me more confident in me, and I was able to achieve. Now, I mentioned my family briefly earlier, and I must say I'm blessed to have an awesome family all around and some neighbors who are here who are sort of chosen family as well. But especially to the best parents in the world who continue to go on this life journey with me, supporting me with care and encouragement. My dad, Greg Selly, is an accomplished athlete here in Sioux Falls through his high school and his college career. And he would be out playing catch with me every weekend and helping me work on my jump shot at the neighbor's basketball hoop, and really taught me a competitive edge and taught me how to be a leader. Thank you, Dad. My mother, Marcia Selly, is here tonight too. And my mother is an artist. She built a career around teaching in Sioux Falls and also a wonderful visual art career. She even ended up at Roosevelt High School, teaching there too. So she shared her creativity with me and my siblings as we were growing up. We watched her steadfastly work on paintings in her own body of work. We saw the focus and commitment that my mom put into her art and to her students and to her girls. Thank you, Mom. So I got the best of both my parents. Thanks, folks. The athlete, the artist, the loving teacher, and I'm grateful. So everything I learned from these people that I've mentioned tonight, I have put into my current career. And even more fulfilling than performing and guiding next generations of young dance artists forward is work that I do bringing movement expression out into communities. I work in the field of arts and healthcare, leading workshops with stroke survivors and their caregivers, with women and families in shelters, and most recently I worked with active and veteran military folks at the Walter Reed National Military Medical Center in DC. We help folks find their expressive voice and try to help them tell their stories that may not be heard on a daily basis, and try to give expressive voice to them. So I'll finish there, but again, I have to say I'm so grateful and honored to be recognized tonight, and I absolutely prefer that my standing here becomes a recognition of Lori Warren, my parents, my family, my awesome teachers, and other coaches here. It is ours, and I only moved forward with what you gave me. So thank you for that. I will carry your mentorship forward, I promise, to the next generations of my students and to my family and the communities I serve, so that they too can have the tools to achieve their potential and to build a world where individual achievement serves a common good, and where people have the agency to make decisions about their own bodies, and perhaps where athletics and art are also seen as equally worthy linked endeavors toward a more just society. Thank you so much, truly.
Thank you again, Laura, and congratulations on your induction. Our next inductee from the class of 2000, Krista Orsak.
What made Krista such an outstanding athlete? Number one, she had some great teammates, so those combinations always are a pretty good place to start. What I remember most about her was she was just an excellent shooter.
She had to be guarded, and she had to be guarded all the time. She was a great shooter. The girl never ever saw a shot that she didn't like. Whenever there was a shot, a big shot, Krista wanted the ball. Believe me, there were a lot of big shots back in her day.
Losing to her was unacceptable. Coach Tibbetts, who was a pretty intense guy himself, on occasion would tell Krista to lighten up. So I think she brought that intensity. She really brought it each and every day.
She was fiery. If everybody wasn't doing what they were supposed to be doing, A lot of times Coach Tibbetts or myself or Coach Klein, whoever was there, didn't have to get after the kids. She would do a pretty good job of it all by herself. She was part of many, many state titles. We went out to Oregon on what they call the Oregon Trail, where we played 4 of the best teams in the country, and between her and Mandy, they were cannon threes from all over it. People were just amazed at how well they could shoot.
I think she was integral part of some of the greatest teams in South Dakota basketball history. Being part of a streak that reached 111 games, that's pretty phenomenal.
She was passionate about the game. She was the type of kid that any coach would be really happy to have on her team.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure and privilege to induct Ms. Krista Orsak into the Roosevelt High School Hall of Fame.
Okay, well, that was so beautiful, Laura. I'm not going to be so eloquent, especially after that video. No, it was a very good video. It kind of speaks for the energy of our team and the competitiveness drive that we all had. Definitely, my team members just made me better every day. Sometimes we didn't get along. But we always loved each other deep down, and it was just a special time. Okay, so now I'm going to follow my notes so I don't get off too much. Thank you to the committee. Thank you to my family, my mom, who's part of the Whoosh Club, Dad, Joshua, Leah, and Leah's Dave. Thanks to the Bunkers, Dr. Bunker now takes care of my old back. I'm surprised I wasn't limping up here. Dixie, who is part of the Whoosh Club. It was so amazing to have those Whoosh Club fans there, especially when we were a little bit ahead of other teams and a lot of the crowd left. They would stick around and really cheer for us. So that was a very special time. So Mark, Mr. Miley. He was my first coach ever. So I was more into soccer growing up, and then I met his daughter and actually Mandy Capel, and he was my first coach. Got me into the sport of basketball, and then of course I also played volleyball, and I tried to do track. I know Rieger's here. I tried to run over a couple hurdles. I gave up by senior year though. Okay, so Jerry also was our athletic director, activities director, and I also got to run into him in my professional life because of his involvement in different things for my job that I do now. Of course, Jeff Lukens, and I was in his class, yes, a student, and also FCA, so I enjoyed that time there. Let's see. My boss today is not here. She is at some political functions with her husband. But I actually met her at downtown Rotary when I was a senior. So I still don't know how I ended up at Rotary. I don't know who nominated me. Some of my wonderful teachers that surrounded me every day, because I will say that during my career, school and education and learning was just as important as basketball and my sports and my outside activities. And Coach Tibbetts, like him or not, was also very competitively driven, but one of the games we lost 2 games in my 4 years, which is very awesome. We all wanted to skip school the next day, our sophomore year, and he said, "Oh no, you don't." And my family said, "Oh no, you don't. You go to school and you get better." And so I just think that we have so much to say about our teachers and our coaches these days who make us who we are. Definitely, last but not least, is Linder. He was our, sophomore, freshman coach. Klein is here. Toft, I know I invited him, he was on the screen. And I was a little feisty.
Even my boss today, she started coming watching me in college too, and she said, you could throw little elbows out there. And I will say that's the second picture of Mahoney I've seen this week, and Mahoney and I had a go about it in high school, and she is getting inducted into the South Dakota Hall of Fame. So kudos to her and our competitors that we were up against over those years. Definitely Coach Tibbetts, who can't be here today, but he was just great. He challenged us, he taught us how to win, and also taught us how to be good people. So that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Krista, and again, congratulations on your induction. Our next inductee from the class of 2003, Mr. Aaron Hadorf.
Aaron had a great work ethic, and he was just going to work until he got things right. When he started wrestling for me as a 7th grader, you know, he just worked and worked and worked. Wasn't the greatest athlete in the world, but he was probably one of the hardest workers I've seen at trying to figure out how to get better, and he wanted to help others to get better too. His senior year, he was outstanding wrestler of the state meet, which he did not suspect. He wasn't even in the building when they called it for him, and we had to get him back to accept it. But I think what made him the best was the work ethic that he put in and the caring that he had to make our program better, and what he gave to that program. When you do that and you give of yourself, you make yourself better and you make others around you better, and that makes the whole program better. He worked with the younger kids. He understood my philosophy of the older kids help coach the younger kids. He wasn't afraid to get after kids to make them better, and he wasn't afraid to pat them on the butt and tell them, hey, you're doing a great job, keep it up. I think his legacy is that if you work hard and you put in the effort and you help others, your whole program gets better. And I think that's what you saw as Aaron went through high school. He provided that leadership, that gift of giving to others and giving of yourself. And I think that's what makes programs better, no matter where you're at, whether it's an athlete. You know, we all make each other better, and we all help each other.
Ladies and gentlemen, our Hall of Fame committee is proud to induct Mr. Aaron Hadorf into the Roosevelt High School Hall of Fame.
I like to talk, so I had to set a timer for myself. That's my son Malachi. He's excited to still be here. Thank you all. Thank you to the committee. Thank you to everyone who came here to celebrate with me tonight. People keep telling me, asking me what I think or how I feel about it, and honestly, it is. I can't really describe it, but I think it's really cool to have so many people who played a role in my life all here in one room at one time. And from 7th grade wrestling up through my college career, I've had so many people that have made a huge impact in my life that aren't in my family, but we'll get to them in a minute. But to have you all here who played such a role, it takes my words away. Wrestling's kind of a cool sport because it's an individual sport, and sometimes you have to work through adversity. Wrestling's really cool because it takes a team to get you to where you are. It takes a dedicated coach, and coaches and teammates to make you better. But when you get to go out on the mat, ultimately it's a zero-sum game. You either get your hand raised and you don't. And that was fun. I loved it. And as Coach Holman told you, I wasn't the athlete that these other 4 women here I'm getting inducted with here today are. But I was willing to work hard, and I was willing to do what it took to win. And I'm proud of that. And I didn't get there on my own. It took a team. It took having practice partners and coaches who were willing to put time in with me, in summer camps, in morning workouts, and our regular practices, all the running sessions we had to do after work or after practice to cut weight. I had people with me doing that, and I'm incredibly honored. Here, Joy, just let him come up. Because ultimately what the best gift Coach Holman gave me was the ability to adapt. And I say that, but it's true. He taught, when he started coaching, he didn't set out to coach to have good athletes. He taught out to have good humans in his program. And he was recently on a podcast for a group that does leadership training called Eyes Up Mindset. Shameless plug this for a college roommate of mine who runs it. He's awesome. But he talked a little bit about the way he lived his life and what motivated him. And Proverbs 16:3 was the verse that he used to talk about in high school with me, and he brought up again on the podcast. But it's, commit to the Lord whatever you do, and he will establish your plans. And that's the way he ran his room. At the end of practices, we used to do something called imagery. And we would sit down and he would give us a topic for whatever we needed to think about that day. Whether it was, we had finals coming up and we needed to be studying, whether we had a match coming up, or whether it was a reading tournament and it was time to focus on ourselves. He had us sit down and he would talk us through and ask us to picture ourselves in that situation, whether it was walking up on the podium, finishing a takedown, or how were we going to take care of studying to get prepared for finals. And I was able to carry that through the rest of my life, and I owe that to him, and I appreciate that. I got to be part of a pretty incredible community at Roosevelt. During my time there, it was what I would call the athletic renaissance, if Mr. Lukens thinks that there was time lacking. In just my time there, 2000, 2001, 2002, and 2003, we had 8 team championships and 13 individual championships in addition to myself, including the 2003 boys baseball team, some of the members who are here today. I got to watch the girls basketball team win and win and win some more, and it was incredible. And just being part of that community was a privilege and a blessing that I could never ever repay. I want to thank my college coaches. Ryan Carlson couldn't be here tonight, but my college head coach Jason Reitmeyer is here. He took off where Tim ended and gave me he brought out the best in me. He really did. I want to thank all my friends that came from near and far, Minneapolis, Aberdeen, please. I want to thank my aunts and uncles and my cousins and everyone who came from Washington, from Ethan, South Dakota, from here in town. I'm looking forward to hanging out with you all tonight and sharing some time with you. If I didn't say thank you to you, I'll tell you later. But really, what I wanted to walk away with telling you all tonight is how privileged I felt to be a part of Roosevelt, to be a part of the community that supported us. My friends' parents, a lot of my friends and teammates' parents are here tonight celebrating with me, and it just means the world to me to have so many people in my life who make me feel so blessed and supported, and I appreciate you all.
Thank you, Aaron, and congratulations. Our next inductee from the class of 2005, Kathleen Haruska.
Kathleen was a basketball and volleyball player, varsity for both. I coached her in volleyball, so I know her volleyball highlights a little bit more, but she excelled in both sports.
I coached her in basketball, and of course she was tall. She hardly ever didn't get a jump ball at the beginning of every ball game. She was going to go up and get it, and she was a great shot blocker. If you decided to bring the ball into the lane, she was swatting it away. She was a very good basketball player. I mean, she was, but her sport was volleyball.
She was a volleyball Gatorade Player of the Year her senior year. Her name is still on the leaderboard for quite a few records in volleyball, kills, blocks, and digs. So I would say for volleyball, that was probably her greatest achievement.
She was a great leader on and off the court. She was just a super kid, well liked by everybody.
I talked to a couple of her teammates and they said, Kathleen strived to be better than she already was. She was by far one of the better players on the court, but it wasn't enough. She just always wanted to get better. The teammates I talked to said she was always pushing them to be better as well.
More than anything, she was an all-around athlete. You know, she was good in basketball, she was good in volleyball, and you know, nowadays, it seems like everybody has to specialize in one thing or the other, but not Kathleen.
And it's with great pride that we are inducting Miss Kathleen Haruska into the Roosevelt High School Hall of Fame.
Well, in the wise words of Larry Toft, she was tall. That's true. If I had to list a top 3 things that I don't like to do, it's this, but I can't imagine doing it in a room filled with people that I love more, that I'm more comfortable with, and that I'd most rather spend my Saturday night with. So thank you all for being here. It's been a long road to being here in person, but I'm just so thankful to be here, to be honored with this super cool event. This is so fun. Thank you to Mike Powers. I don't know where he is. I haven't said hi to him yet, but this is just so much work for all the administrators and everything, and it makes me, and I'm sure all the other inductees, feel just so special that our school still wants to honor us with this. So thank you for putting this together. Seriously, it's awesome. On top of that, I was able to passively aggressively pressure all of my family and friends who are in the United States to come here tonight and to spend the weekend with us, which doesn't happen very often because there's a lot of us. So that's made the weekend super special as well. And I don't have a ton of teammates here. Megan, thanks for being here. But the thing that I take away, I guess, from my time at Roosevelt and just from sports in general is the relationships that I have with my teammates, with the coaches, administrators, with other people's parents, with the cheerleaders. And that's what I think is the cool thing about sports, is that you interact with people that you would probably never meet. I have a best friend here that I met in France where I was playing professionally, and she's my BFF forever. I have my other best friend, Chris, who I also met through volleyball, that I would have never crossed paths with. And so I think that's just kind of a great equalizer, is that it holds place for people that you might not already ever have the chance to know. So I'd like to take the time to thank my family, who have driven miles and miles to watch me play. Across the state, across the country, they've flown across the world to watch me. My friends who've flown in, who've drawn miles, who got a babysitter, all of that kind of stuff. I don't like speaking in front of people, so I'm gonna end it there. But thank you everybody for being here. Thank you for your presence. I'm super grateful, and just, I'm really honored by everything, so I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
So real quick, I'm Caleb. I get to be Kathleen's significant other. Ed, I'm not proposing, it's okay. All right? So let's calm down there. You don't have to accept me yet. But with that being said, I just want to say a few quick words about yourself because I think it's important. Understand that, be proud of what you are today and keep fighting for what you want to be tomorrow. And you have a significant impact and an opportunity to come and impact the lives of so many people, including myself, your friends, your family. You've had a unique career where you played abroad for 10 years and you've met some very interesting people. But one thing I've noticed is you don't have anything to necessarily show all your hard work and accomplishments. So with that being said, I think you need to be super proud, and I think you need to have something to demonstrate that. And so I've gotten your best friends, Chris and Adriana, to present you with the shadow box that we had made for you. And so USD donated the jersey. USD donated the jersey. They were happy to participate and help. And I want you to know that you're loved and supported by so many. And remember, be proud of what you are today and keep fighting for what you want to be tomorrow.
Well, that was pretty cool. Very cool. And congratulations again, Kathleen. So well deserved. Our fifth inductee for the evening from the coaching ranks of Roosevelt High School and a dear friend of mine, Miss Christy Rieger.
Christy cared deeply about her athletes, had a passion second to none for the sports of cross country and track and field.
I think there's lots of things that made her an outstanding coach. One of the things was preaching the doing the little things. All the other teams or all the other athletes were always running miles and doing those things, but she would preach the getting in the weight room, you know, the extra exercises, the eating correct, the getting to bed on time.
I mean, she put her 110% into everything that she did for athletes, for the program, for Roosevelt. She was just exceptional in her work ethic.
The number of great athletes that she put out, the number of records that her athletes set, and just bringing a very high standard to Roosevelt High School in the sports of track and field and cross country.
Coach Rieger had so many great accomplishments at Roosevelt, but during my time, certainly it would be building and developing a national cross-country team. That was so exceptional for that time. Before that time, that had never been done, and she provided the training, unique training opportunities, unique competitions and meets for us to attend to get us to that national level.
She always had this ability to find these people who weren't maybe the top stars. It's not all about just one person. I think that's what made her have those good teams, is not always the superstar runner, which we had a lot of, but also the fourth and fifth runners who helped out that team.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are more than honored to induct Coach Christy Rieger into the Roosevelt High School Hall of Fame.
Thank you, Jeff. What a great video. Thank you for that incredibly humbling introduction. I'd like to first start by congratulating all of the athletes who are being inducted here tonight: Laura, Kathleen, Krista, and Aaron. I remember each of your athletic careers, and you are all exceptional athletes, but more importantly, you are all exceptional people who made Roosevelt a better place while you were here. To the selection committee, thank you. I truly never thought I'd be standing here tonight being inducted into the Roosevelt Hall of Fame. I can remember when I got the call from my longtime assistant coach, Mark Madison, over 2 years ago now. I said to him, Mark, the committee knows that I never won a team championship for Roosevelt, right? I mean, shouldn't that be a prerequisite to being inducted into a Hall of Fame as a coach? Being a 9-time runner-up is a really great stat to have, but it's not a banner in the gym. Mark gently reminded me, as he always did, that my induction was about so much more than team titles. He reminded me that it was about the many student athletes that were so successful over my time at Roosevelt. Of course, he was right, as he often was when we were coaching as well. So with my time tonight, I want to talk about the people around me who are the true reason that I'm standing here tonight. It's not very often that a person gets an opportunity to, in a very public way, to say two very powerful words. Thank you. Thank you is defined as an expression of one's gratitude. And when I look back on my coaching career, I am so filled with gratitude because of the many people who helped me on my journey. I have to start with the sports of track and cross country. I never thought when I was 7 or 8 years old and my parents took me to the little park and rec track meets that I would fall in love with running and I would spend the rest of my life so close to those sports. From being an athlete to a coach to the meet director of one of the largest high school track and field meets in the country, I'm so blessed to have spent my entire life loving and being a part of these two sports. Thank you to Vic Godfrey. Vic isn't here tonight, but thank you to Vic Godfrey, who I worked under for my first 3 coaching years in Watertown, South Dakota. Vic taught me so much about how to be a great coach, and I'm so appreciative of everything he taught me before I came to Roosevelt. Thank you to Mark Miley and to Jerry Miller, out there somewhere. Mark and Jerry believed in me enough to give me that first and actually only head coaching position at Roosevelt all those years ago. Thank you to my family for your support, whether as an athlete, a coach, or a meet director. You have followed my journey and supported me at every turn. Thank you for believing in me, helping me believe in myself, always showing up for me, and for always having my back. I want to thank my 4 nephews for being here tonight. My hope for you as young men is that you're all able to find something in your lives that gives you the same joy that I found in these sports. Because when you find your sport, when you find your passion, and you find your joy, then you find your excitement to get up every day. And that's the passion I've always had for the sports of track and cross country. An enormous thank you to my longtime assistant coach, Mark Madison, Mad Dog. Hey, we all know that head coaches can't be successful without an assistant coach who's phenomenal in so many ways. Isn't that right, Coach Klein? Coach Huber? You guys know a little bit about winning state championships? I would not be here tonight without you, Mark. You were and still are in many ways my compass. And I was so blessed to get to spend and share my coaching career with you. You had my back when you thought I was right, and you could tell me in the most thought-provoking and gentle ways when I was wrong, which was actually way more often than I'd really like to admit. Mark, thank you for believing in me and for always supporting my vision. I share this honor with you. Most importantly, thank you to all the athletes that I'm grateful to have coached over a career that spanned over 20 years. I coached thousands of athletes, and they were all special in their own ways. But we all know that just regular athletes don't put coaches into Hall of Fames. To those talented athletes who I've invited here tonight, thank you. Thank you for buying into the program and the culture that we worked hard to build. Thank you for the commitment, the dedication, the perseverance, and the leadership that you brought to our programs. I know that it wasn't always easy, and I know I asked a hell of a lot of you. I know that. But I hope that you know that my goal as your coach was to help you find your greatness. I hope that you can all look back fondly on your experiences at Roosevelt and in our sports and say that those sports helped you in your journey and that you still carry the life lessons of winning, losing, and working hard with you every day. They say there's the family that you're born into, and then there's the family that you make. You all became my family. Through hours and hours together at practice, on bus trips, at meets, team meals, and training camps together every summer. Some of my greatest memories were at our summer training camps at Okoboji, Yankton, Minneapolis, and Colorado. Because those were the times when Mark and I really got to know you. Whether it was the boys making spaghetti for the girls or the girls making breakfast for the boys, those are the memories that I'll cherish most. I want to tell one story, and I could really stand up here all night, and I literally had a story that I wanted to tell of everybody over there, but my speech was like 20 minutes, and I didn't want to bore everybody. So I tell one. Because this one changed the trajectory of my life. I'll never forget the day that we got the call that we were being invited to the very first Nike Cross Nationals in Portland, Oregon. Brittany, thank you so much for coming into my office that day and finally telling me your shoe size. Because that meant you were passing up your choir event to join us in Portland. We would not have represented well at the national meet without that special group of 7. Consequently, that trip literally changed my life. Because now I'm the meet director for the Nike Heartland Regional Meet, and I've experienced every Nike Cross Nationals. And I also get to play a role in planning that very same national meet that I was so proud to be a part of as a coach with those 7 amazing athletes. I'm extremely proud of what you all achieved in the sport, and I'm so thankful to have been a small part of your journey. I'd like to close by sharing some words that have always inspired me. I'm reminded of all the people who are a part of my coaching and life journey. Many are still with me today, some are not. Regardless, I'm so blessed to have had them all in my life because to me, coaching was all about people. Some people come into our lives and quickly go. Some people move our souls to dance. They awaken us to a new understanding with the passing whisper of their wisdom. Some people make the sky more beautiful to gaze upon. They stay in our lives for a while, leave footprints on our hearts, and we are never, ever the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Christy, and again, congratulations on your induction. In wrapping this up this evening, I was struck by a common theme that ran through all 5 of the thoughts that people were expressing up here. And that theme was family. I was listening for it because not one person forgot to mention their family. And when you have an athletic career like these 5 and a coaching career like that young lady right there, as Christy so beautifully put it, you don't do that by yourself. And your key supporters throughout your entire career, and I would argue throughout your entire life, are the ones that will never give up on you. You will have friends give up on you, you will have acquaintances give up on you, might have bosses give up on you, but your family will not give up on you. And all 5 of you said that. Hador's family certainly didn't give up on him because they joined him on the stage up here. But that to me was the biggest takeaway of this, and if we make that if that's a microcosm of what this is all about. This is Roosevelt, hard to believe I'm even saying this, 32nd year in existence. And we started in 1991, and I'm looking at a couple of people in the back who were there with us. Sandy Troback, Rick Troback, Mark Miley was there with us at the time. We were not much of a family when we started. It was very, very dysfunctional and very disjointed. Now look what's happened. You don't develop that family in a year, maybe even in 10 years, but now look at what's happened. We have family showing up who aren't even family of these people that they respect and they love so much. I feel for, and I know maybe you don't want to hear this, but I kind of feel for Jefferson High School right now. This is their first year in existence. Sandy, Rick, Mark Miley, we remember that. Lori Warren, our first year, all the excitement and all the enthusiasm and all the optimism, and then all the reality hit. And it wasn't a Hall of Fame school at first. Now look at it. If you've not been to Roosevelt for a while, try to sneak in past security sometime, because that's pretty tight nowadays, and just wander through the athletic department and wander through the fine arts department and see what's there in terms of trophies. You won't believe it. It took us 5 years to get one, and now we have to build more trophy cases. And that's in large part to the legacy of the 5 people that we are inducting into our Hall of Fame tonight. So without further ado, I thank you so much for attending tonight, for your support of Roosevelt High School. Thank you to everybody who had a part in this. One person I do want to call out, and he will not like me for this, and I don't even see him. Where's Mike Powers? Mike, could you stand up, please? He is... Some of you don't know Mike at all, and that wouldn't surprise me because Mike is not one to go around the room and, glad hand people and shake them up and all that kind of thing. But with all due respect to the rest of the committee, this wouldn't happen without Mike Powers. He does so much for this event and so much for our school. So Mike, thank you so much for all of that. And with that, I will bid you good evening. Thank you for coming.